Let's see how this man manages to make thousands of pounds a day. He walks up to an ATM, withdraws some cash, and when the cash slot opens, he smears glue all over it. Then, he hides nearby to observe. Soon, a man approaches the ATM, but sensing something's off, he walks away. Several people come and go. When the timing feels right, the first man walks up, punches the machine, and voila, a thick stack of cash slips right into his hands. But he's not done yet. He scans the street, watching the passing cars. When a luxury car approaches, he calmly steps forward, causing the driver to hit him. The windshield shatters on impact. The man collapses on the ground, unable to get up. A crowd gathers. Just then, a young man shows up and exposes him.
Ash, there are easier ways to earn a living.
Recognizing the voice, the man turns to see Mickey. They both grin. Turns out, they're two of the world's most skilled con artists. While Mickey specializes in big jobs, Morgan scams people by faking injuries. This time, Mickey's here to pull off something big, and he wants Morgan to join. Soon, Mickey assembles the whole crew, a top-tier con artist team, each with unique skills. Mickey, the mastermind and undisputed leader, never fails at a job. Morgan, the gear guy, if you need it, he has it. His daily income comes from staged accidents. Albert, a gambling expert and smooth talker, scouts the perfect mark and draws them into the trap. Stacy and Danny, the charmers, stunning looks paired with sharp minds. Their next target, Peter, a filthy rich man who's notoriously stingy and manipulative. When dining with friends, he waits for them to tip the waiter, then sneaks back to pocket the tip himself. That greedy habit is exactly what gets him in trouble. Albert spots the opportunity and stages a scenario. He drops his lighter, and when Peter picks it up, Albert invites him for a drink to say thanks. One drink leads to another. Soon they're friends. Later, during lunch, Albert discovers a wallet on the floor. Peter checks and finds it's not his. Inside is a stack of cash and a business card, possibly from a wealthy businessman. Albert asks the restaurant staff to find the owner, but Peter thinks, maybe we'll get a reward. Peter goes to the address on the card, and Mickey answers the door, pretending to be the wallet's owner. To show his gratitude, Mickey offers them a big sum of money. Before Peter can respond, Morgan, posing as an assistant, walks in carrying a briefcase full of cash, all within Peter's sight. Mickey then hints he's working on a small investment project. Since they've clicked so well, why not consider the gift as an investment? If successful, profits will be shared. Too good to pass up, Peter agrees, not realizing he's fallen for the trap. Next step, stage a fake profit. The team needs £10,000 as a bait. Morgan returns to his ATM scam. Albert goes pickpocketing down the street. Soon enough, they gather the full £10,000. The next day, Mickey invites Peter and Albert to split the profit, £5,000 each from a mere £500 investment. Peter is thrilled. Albert seizes the moment. If the return's this good, maybe we can invest more. Peter hesitates, but then Danny bursts in, crying and thanking Mickey for saving his company from bankruptcy. Mickey stalls. I've got a meeting later to discuss this investment. Peter insists they sit and talk business now. Seeing Peter completely hooked, Mickey begins building the illusion. Morgan forges documents to rent a luxurious office. Mickey pretends to be a valet, steals a limited edition supercar, and pockets a £20 tip. Morgan plays chauffeur, Danny charms the receptionist, Stacy ushers everyone upstairs. Everything's in place. Finally, Mickey gets to the pitch. My project's a bit off the books, but the returns are huge. If you want out, now's your chance. Peter, seeing how wealthy Mickey appeared, quickly smiled and said, no problem, it's just a small matter. Mickey continued, this project isn't that big. The total investment is £1 million. I'll contribute £400,000, and the rest will be split evenly among the three of you. The number was too large for Peter to decide on the spot, so he made a call to his financial advisor. Once he confirmed the company had no debt, Peter firmly agreed to invest. They gave themselves 1 week to gather the funds. At this point, the fish was fully hooked. But just when everything was going smoothly, trouble came knocking. With a crew of high-profile con artists, it was only a matter of time before the police took notice. As Danny arrived home, officers were already at his door. Turns out, they knew he had recently joined the con crew, so they made him an offer. If you can provide evidence of their crimes, we'll treat you as a witness and let you walk free. Otherwise, you'll rot in prison. Danny hesitated. On the day of the big investment, Peter arrived on time with a suitcase full of cash. Everyone was there, except Danny. Soon, someone knocked. Stacy opened the door to see Danny, visibly anxious. He stormed in, seemingly about to say something, when suddenly, a SWAT team burst into the room. Everyone freeze. Drop the case. It's over, Danny. You are out of this. Mickey realized Danny had betrayed them and grabbed a cop's gun, but his aim was terrible. The officer fired, Mickey was shot and collapsed. Danny rushed over, only to be elbowed in the face and knocked out cold. When Danny woke up, it was just him and the police. They demanded he write a full confession of the gang's criminal activities. But to their surprise, Danny refused, even if it meant prison. He had never betrayed his crew before, and he wasn't going to start now. Seeing his loyalty, one of the officers stood up.
Okay, he's all yours.
Just then, Stacy and the rest of the team walked in. Danny was stunned, even Mickey appeared, alive and well. It was all a setup, not just to con Peter, but also to test Danny's loyalty. The cops, just hired actors. The scene where Mickey got shot in the head, a brilliant special effect by Morgan. He had rigged a tiny pouch of watermelon juice behind Mickey's head. The moment the fake cop pulled the trigger, Morgan triggered the pouch, creating the illusion of a fatal shot. Meanwhile, Peter went to the police station to try reclaiming his £200,000. Wherever you came from, go back there. You think we just hand out money to everyone? Panicking, Peter rushed back, but the con artists were long gone, taking his money with them. This is a world-famous painting worth several £1,000,000, created by Pete Mondrian, and a man is about to steal it, in the simplest way possible. He confidently strides into the gallery, calmly removes the painting right in front of the security camera. Suddenly, alarms blare, armed security guards rush in and catch him red-handed. But the man stays seated, demanding to speak to the owner. The guards are confused. Morgan snaps, scolding them. A painting this valuable, and you don't even have laser protection. There's a camera, what if the power goes out? Your cameras take 30 seconds to do a full sweep. Who are you? Morgan hands over a business card, claiming he's a security auditor sent by the board of directors to evaluate their protection systems. The guards scramble to explain. We've got X-ray scanners, all the frames are coded. Morgan pretends to call his boss and says, if I lose my job over this, I'll make sure heads roll. Intimidated, the guards back off. Just like that, Morgan successfully uncovers all the gallery's security weaknesses. Next up, Mickey's move. He poses as a tourist, while Stacy, wearing a shirt printed with a Mondrian-style pattern, flirts with the guards, quickly drawing their attention. With the cameras turned away, Mickey gets to work. Since the frame is coated, he only needs the canvas, not the whole thing. He sprays adhesive on the existing frame, slaps on a perfect replica, and in 20 seconds, it's done. Stacy walks by, heads to the restroom, and inside, the real painting is stuck to the back of the door. She peels it off, rolls it up, and hides it under her clothes. It fits perfectly. Then, she calmly walks out. One of the guards, totally smitten, watches her leave, never realizing the gallery's treasure just walked out the door. Turns out, this is one of the world's top con artist crews. Their golden rule: pull off jobs with zero loose ends. But since famous artwork with traceable owners would trigger police interest, they had another plan. They approached a master forger, an old partner, and asked him to create a painting that Mondrian never actually painted. His only condition: he needed a real Mondrian for reference. Hence, the elaborate heist. Then came the prep work: century-old ink pens soaked in vinegar, 5 expired tins of sardines, seawater and sand from Brighton, and period-accurate canvas. With all materials ready, the master said, give me 10 days, and you'll have a painting even Mondrian never made. He began by sketching a landscape, then erased it to start fresh. After 49 hours of drying, the real work began. Meanwhile, Mickey's team was busy building hype. Morgan hired 100,000 online promoters to spread buzz. Soon, rumors of a mysterious new Mondrian exploded. A journalist, intrigued, came to investigate. She claimed she knew a wealthy art collector who might be interested, and if she got exclusive rights to cover the painting, she'd introduce the team. Mickey acted aloof, which only piqued her curiosity more. The next day, she returned. This time, Mickey pretended to be moved by her sincerity and agreed she could run the exclusive article. In return, she would introduce him to the wealthy woman. The final step: create a luxurious antique shop. If they wanted to land a massive payday, they had to erase every shred of doubt in the buyer's mind. So Mickey and Stacy arrived at a grand antique store, posing as sanitation inspectors. They claimed there had been complaints about hygiene, and just as they said it, a rat conveniently ran by. Mickey declared the shop needed to be fully fumigated, and no one was allowed in for the day. The shop owner, startled, had no choice but to comply. Not long after, Morgan drove in with the wealthy collector, while Danny, now pretending to be the store owner, came out to greet her. Seeing how wealthy Mickey appeared, the collector dropped all suspicions. The meeting went smoothly and warmly. On the day of the sale, Mickey presented the forged Mondrian painting. The journalist inspected it closely, the brushwork, the texture, even the smell of rotting fish, it all screamed Mondrian. The wealthy lady said, "If it passes my team's authentication, I'll give you £500,000 in cash." During the inspection, the expert confirmed, "It's clearly from the early 20th century." But he had one question: why was it painted on such high-quality canvas? Mondrian came from a poor background. Back then, he could never afford to waste such expensive material for trial paintings. At that moment, the journalist chimed in with a backstory. It was said, thanks to Morgan's online campaign, that Mondrian was commissioned to create this piece, but midway, the client pulled out, and Mondrian reused the canvas for his own inspiration. The story made perfect sense to the collector, but to be sure, she asked for a deeper scan. And sure enough, beneath the painting was a faint erased landscape, proving it had been painted over. The forgery was flawless. Impressed, the collector now believed the painting was a real lost Mondrian. If the story was true, its historical value outweighed its price. The sale happened without delay. But back at the forger's studio, things took a turn. The forger, tempted by greed, wanted to keep both the real Mondrian and the £500,000. He threatened to report the crew unless they agreed. Danny was furious. This old man's playing with fire. But Mickey, calm as ever, just glanced at his watch and opened the door. Turns out, Mickey anticipated the betrayal and had already reported the forger. Faced with the cops, the man backed down. He avoided jail, but could only sit and watch as Mickey walked off with the money. As for the real Mondrian painting, it was now in the hands of the journalist. She had secretly been working with Mickey. But in a twist, she betrayed him too and drove off with the artwork. That's when Morgan appeared, holding the real painting. What just happened? Earlier, Mickey had planned for everything. He asked Morgan to fake an accident, just like his old scams, to distract the journalist. During the chaos, Albert swapped the painting. Once again, Mickey's plan was perfect. The money would keep them comfortable for a while. Now let's see how the world's best con crew pulls off their next big scam. This time, the target is a Swiss billionaire named Anthony, ranked in the top 50 of the Forbes list. His one obsession: collecting rare currency. He even holds a Guinness World Record in the field. Albert heard Anthony was desperately looking for a rare £1,000 banknote. And when a billionaire desperately wants something, that's opportunity. The plan? Forge a perfect replica and sell it to him. Step 1. They tracked down an elderly woman who actually owned the real note. Danny and new recruit Trevor posed as antique insurance agents to visit her. The old lady had no idea how valuable her note was, so she allowed them to photograph and examine it freely. With detailed images in hand, Mickey and the crew went to their trusted forger. He smirked and said, "For the right price, I can recreate this note, even the dirt and stains." Danny tossed him a fat wad of cash. Deal sealed. Next step, get Anthony to notice the rare bill. Mickey learned that Anthony would be visiting an antique store that afternoon. Danny and Trevor got there first, dressed as undercover cops. They pulled the owner aside and launched into their act. There's a money laundering ring. They're moving cash out of the country by investing in rare coins and banknotes. Please step into the back room, we need to collect evidence. The owner, stunned, complied. And just in time, Anthony arrived. Trevor casually made a call. Danny, pretending to take the call, loudly said, "I've found the rare £500,000 note, should be ready for sale in a day or two." Anthony, overhearing this, was instantly hooked. That was exactly the note he was hunting. He approached Danny and boldly said, "Whatever they're offering, I'll pay double." Danny, playing the noble professional, hesitated. Anthony added, "Once the deal's done, every staff member in the store will get tens of thousands in bonus." Then he left, fully convinced. The bait was taken. That night, Danny and Trevor visited Anthony. Blinded by the money, the billionaire agreed without question. Back at the forgers, they collected the flawless counterfeit. Mickey warned, "Don't screw this up." Then handed Trevor the note for safekeeping. But as Danny and Trevor arrived at Anthony's mansion, Trevor realized the note was missing. Panic set in. They retraced every step, even returned to the hotel, but it was gone. When Mickey found out, he exploded. "You idiots, professionals don't make rookie mistakes like this." Trevor couldn't take it. He lunged at Mickey. The rest of the team grabbed him and threw him out. Back home, furious and humiliated, Trevor smashed everything. Then, an idea struck him. The old lady had no clue what her note was worth. He could go back and steal the real thing. Trevor called Anthony, explaining there had been a hiccup in today's deal. But by tomorrow noon, he promised to deliver the real note with both hands. Trevor, once a trusted teammate, had just become the traitor. The next day, Trevor, carrying all his remaining assets, once again posed as an insurance agent and visited the elderly lady. He told her, "During our last inspection, we accidentally damaged one of your belongings. We'll pay you £150,000 now, and once you sign this contract, the rest will be transferred to your account." The old woman, convinced, signed the papers. Immediately, Trevor dropped the nice guy act. "Haven't you already sold it to me? The payment is legal, right there on the table." Turns out, the contract wasn't for compensation, it was a lowball sales agreement. Unbelievable, the man even scammed a little old lady. Trevor took the note and went straight to Anthony. Anthony inspected it closely, dropped some chemicals on it, it was real. Moments later, he handed Trevor £500,000. Ecstatic, Trevor rushed out and opened the case, only to find a brick and a photo. Panicked, he ran back to the mansion, now completely empty. Back at the old woman's house, he found a young couple just returning from vacation. When he mentioned the old lady's name, they had no idea who she was. What's going on? Meanwhile, the old lady walked into a bar with the £150,000. And Anthony, he wiped off his makeup, it was Mickey all along. The whole thing was a masterfully crafted trap for Trevor. As for the real banknote, Danny had quietly swapped it and passed it to Stacy. Even the payment Trevor received was switched out by a fake waiter at the right moment. But why would they con one of their own? A few days earlier, Trevor had scammed an old lady using a brick. That old lady just happened to be Danny's grandmother. A con man scammed the family of another con man, and ended up getting scammed harder by the pros. Now Trevor sat there, stunned, that £150,000 was everything he had. He returned to Mickey's place, only to find it sealed off by the police. Trevor asked what had happened. A cop replied, "We just arrested a criminal gang. Do you know them?" Worried, Trevor denied everything and walked off. Moments later, that cop joyfully walked into a bar. He was a fake too. These weren't just any scammers, they were the best. Sure, what they did was illegal, but they had their own code. If someone scams the elderly, the sick, or innocent kids, they make sure that person gets what they deserve. After all, that £150,000 would keep them comfortable for a while longer. Let's watch a master con artist in action. This man was dealt a terrible hand, but with a simple stroke of his fingers, the cards transformed into a winning set. As expected, he walked away with a big win. But the casino boss spotted the trick. Albert got caught, and was beaten so badly he ended up in the hospital. When Mickey and the crew heard what happened, they rushed to his side. Seeing Albert's battered condition, they vowed to get revenge. This wasn't just any con team. They were notorious enough to scare billionaires. But this time, the opponent wasn't just rich, he was dangerous. Their target, Gorley, a ruthless kingpin who owned the territory. Anyone who crossed him ended up either dead or hospitalized. But the tougher the opponent, the more excited Mickey became. He sent Morgan to tail Gorley. They discovered he regularly stopped by a newsstand, and always carried the same briefcase, clearly containing something important. The crew decided to target the briefcase first. Danny found the perfect chance and slipped a strong laxative into Gorley's wine. Moments later, the drink was served, Gorley downed it without suspicion. Within minutes, he doubled over in pain and ran to the bathroom. Outside, Morgan received the signal. He climbed into Gorley's car and triggered the alarm, drawing away the security guards. With no one watching, Mickey and Danny opened Gorley's laptop and copied all the data onto a USB drive. Gorley, still in the restroom, gave them more than enough time. Back at HQ, they checked the files. Turns out, the old man had a huge obsession with cinema. Most of his data, movie-related. Mickey's mind lit up. He quickly photoshopped Danny and Stacy onto the cover of a fake movie magazine, then Morgan dropped it at Gorley's favorite stand, placing it right in plain sight. Just as planned, Gorley passed by, saw the striking duo on the cover, and curiously picked up a copy. Next move, a flashy car. Mickey swiped a set of keys from a guard. Minutes later, a Lamborghini roared out of the underground garage, no parking fees required. Danny pulled up outside Gorley's hotel. The buzz caught attention. Gorley came out to see who it was, and immediately recognized Danny. "Wait, aren't you the guy from the magazine cover?" Excited, he invited Danny to sit and chat. Gorley confessed he loved movies, but lacked talent, so he stuck to behind-the-scenes work. The two hit it off. As Danny got up to leave, "I'm hosting 2 investors tonight for a potential deal." "Perfect, I'll make sure you're well taken care of." That night, Mickey and Morgan, dressed as wealthy investors, arrived with Danny at the casino. After a few drinks, Morgan began to act outrageously drunk, yelling and smashing things. Danny apologized and asked Gourley's guards to escort Morgan out. With just 3 of them left, they went to Gourley's office. There, Mickey said calmly, "I want Morgan out of the team. That drunk's going to bring us down. We can turn £10,000 into £100,000 in a day. You think we need him?" Sometimes, a simple offhand comment can spark something big. Wait, the film industry really offers that kind of return. Danny smiled. "If you partner with us, I promise, you'll make a fortune." Without hesitation, Gourley pulled out cash and joined the venture. He had only one request. "Let me see for myself how you guys make money." The next day, as Gourley stepped outside, he saw a giant billboard featuring Stacy. No doubt about it, this had Mickey's crew written all over it. Danny took him to a film set where Stacy and other actors were already waiting. Seeing Danny so close to celebrities, Gourley's suspicions started to fade. Then, a man walked in and said, "Over 200 new actors are waiting to join the production. When can we let them in?" Danny replied, "Wait for my call, but first, you'll need to settle the current invoice." The man happily paid. Danny handed £20,000 of it to Gourley. "This is real, I could make 10 times this." Danny knew the hook had sunk in. Before they left, Danny teased, "We've got a big project coming up, if you're curious follow me." Of course, Gourley followed. Danny explained, "We're about to produce a new film, we need £5 million in funding. Once completed, we'll sell the rights internationally for £10 million. How much do I need to invest to join?" "At least match my stake, around £200,000, I guarantee your return will multiply in just 3 months." Hearing that figure, Gourley hesitated. Danny was about to offer a discount, but Mickey stepped in and shook his head. His message was clear. "This old man's loaded, let's play the emotional angle instead." Danny suddenly remembered Gourley once said he dreamed of being in a movie. Perfect. So Danny offered to make him the lead actor. The moment he heard that, Gourley wrote a £200,000 check without blinking. With the money secured, the crew began planning their exit. Morgan strapped a blood pack onto Danny. Mickey warned, "When I fire, drop immediately, no improv." That night, Mickey and Gourley sat down to discuss the script. Suddenly, Danny burst in, furious. "It's over." Morgan took the money and vanished. "What? He had all our signatures, emptied our accounts." Mickey exploded with rage, ordering Danny to find Morgan. Danny panicked. "How? The world's too big." Right then, Mickey pulled out a gun and fired. Danny collapsed, blood everywhere. But Danny couldn't help himself, he overacted. Gourley, caught up in the chaos, pulled his own gun and shot Danny again. Mickey froze. Stacy rushed to drag Gourley away. Once Gourley was gone, Mickey rushed Danny to the hospital. Luckily, the bullet missed all vital organs. Danny survived. Gourley fled the country. The crew had avenged Albert, and picked up an extra £200,000 on the way out. Let's watch how a master con artist can read a target, almost instantly. Just one look and they can spot everything. A ring mark, but no ring, likely divorced. Dry skin, high stress, short temper. Cartoon socks, probably has kids at home. Belt fastened tighter, recently lost weight. From that alone, they conclude, this man's life isn't going so well. With this level of observation and deduction, you might just have what it takes to become a con artist elite. Recently, the crew set their sights on Jennings, a real estate mogul. Their goal? To sell him a £20,000 plot of land for £2 million. Sounds impossible, not for them. They quickly crafted a flawless trap. Morgan created a fake newspaper, nearly identical to the real one. Stacy was in charge of placing it in the mailbox at Jennings's company headquarters. Jennings came across a news article. Ancient artifacts had been discovered on a plot of land in London. It caught his full attention, and little did he know, that was just step one of the con. Danny and the crew began circling Jennings. Danny noticed Jennings eyeing a woman and bet he could get her number. Using his charm and perfect topic choice, Danny succeeded. Jennings was impressed and warmed up to him. During conversation, Jennings asked about Danny's work. Danny said he was with a real estate firm, and his boss was about to spend £2 million on a barren piece of land. Jennings immediately connected this to the news article. The location sounded identical. He asked Danny to introduce him to the boss. At that point, Mickey was sitting in a luxurious office, with a fake land dossier in clear view. Danny brought Jennings in. Mickey acted arrogant and aloof, refusing to shake hands, just to poke Jennings's ego. Mickey then rushed off to a meeting, leaving Danny to see Jennings out. Left alone, Jennings peeked inside the drawer, and found documents stating the land had a gold deposit. He bit the bait. Morgan launched a fake website backing the same claim. Jennings went digging further, visiting a museum to learn more. There, Stacy, disguised as a museum staff member, guided him through historical artifacts. When Jennings asked about gold on the land, she said, "There are rumors, but the geologist might know more." Albert, playing the expert, confirmed it. "If you want to be sure, we'll need a soil test." After some convincingly technical jargon, Jennings was all in. He asked Danny to take him to see the land. Danny kept scoffing. "I wouldn't take this land if it were free." Jennings smirked. "You're just an employee, no vision like real investors." Then he offered £10,000 to arrange a meeting with the landowner. Morgan, disguised as the landowner, met Jennings, who showed up with £2 million in cash. But before the deal, he wanted a soil test. Albert stepped in with a test tube of yellow liquid. This gold-tinted result confirms gold is present in the soil. Still suspicious, Jennings insisted on bringing his own experts. The team panicked. If real pros checked the site, the con would unravel. As the experts were about to take a sample, Morgan shot the ground, then picked up a dead rat as an excuse to cancel the test. Jennings felt like he had won. Mickey and Danny began staging a fake betrayal. But just when it all seemed to fall apart, a tech walked over and whispered something to Jennings. He returned with a smile, and said, "I'll buy the land." Contracts were signed. They shook hands and yelled, "Whoever backs out is a dog." Outside, Jennings mocked Mickey. "Free money from the sky, I'll take it for you." And as for Danny's promised cut, Jennings sneered, "When my company goes under, I'll call you to clean up the mess." Classic backstab. But was there really gold? Of course not. Mickey had predicted everything. He told Morgan to load a bullet with real gold. When Morgan shot the sampling spot, the experts unknowingly collected gold-laced soil. That's how they sold a £20,000 plot for £2 million. Another genius move by the masters of the con. And just like that, they had enough to live large for another season. 2 black men were left naked and stranded on the street. Their mission: within 6 hours, whoever scams the most money becomes the con king. First step: get proper clothes. Mickey spotted a jumpsuit by the roadside and stole it. Barefoot and dirty, he walked into a deli and borrowed a bottle of salad dressing. Just then, a well-dressed man passed by. Mickey squirted dressing on him and shouted, "You've got bird poop on you." The man panicked. Mickey confidently told him, "Use cold water, it'll come right out in 10 seconds. Grateful, the man thanked him, unaware his wallet had vanished. Mickey used the cash to buy new clothes. That was just basic con work. Moments later, he spotted a limited edition Rolls-Royce Phantom parked on the street. He climbed in and told the driver, "If you don't want to lose your job, just drive." The driver hesitated but complied. Mickey's aura was that convincing. Meanwhile, Danny, with his pop star looks, struggled more. He barely caught a cab. The driver asked, "You got money?" Danny replied, "Her husband knows. He's chasing me with a baseball bat." Spooked, the driver sped off. Later, the driver even gave Danny a ripped old outfit out of sympathy. Next, Danny borrowed chalk from a homeless man and started drawing outside a fancy restaurant. When the manager came to confront him, Danny said, "We're digging a well here, just marking the drilling spot." The manager, panicked, handed him £100 to go harass the restaurant next door. Danny scored his first big con, but just as he turned the corner, he saw Mickey cruising by in a Rolls-Royce, smirking. Enraged, Danny called the cops. "There's a black guy with a gun who just hijacked a Rolls-Royce, looks like a gang terrorist." Cops showed up. Mickey was arrested. As per the challenge rules, each could call someone for help. Mickey called Morgan, who quickly bailed him out, but Mickey was now furious with Danny. Meanwhile, Stacy helped Danny. Together, they conned a clueless guy by swapping his clothes. Then, Stacy faked a stumble into a glasses-wearing captain, giving Danny the chance to steal his signboard. With it, they stood at a dock and advertised, "Want a ride on the Thames? Stopping at Buckingham Palace, just £20. A crowd formed. Thanks to their silver tongues, they made hundreds of pounds within minutes. Danny beamed with confidence, but Stacy warned, "Mickey only plays big, don't let your guard down." Back at the bar, Danny mocked Mickey. "I made £5,000 easily, you've got no chance of being con king." Mickey smiled, "Don't worry, I've hooked a big fish, time to reel it in." Danny, cocky, handed Mickey a coin like a handout, not knowing that coin would seal his defeat. Suspicious, Danny followed Mickey. He saw him with a white woman, Pennon, a stamp collector. Later, Danny learned that Morgan had just bought a small stamp case. Connecting the dots, Danny figured Mickey was going to forge a stamp and sell it to Pennon. Determined to ruin the plan, Danny visited their usual forger. He convinced him to hand over the stamp Mickey ordered, offering £2,000 instead of £3,000. The forger hesitated, but Danny eventually got the stamp. As he rushed out, he passed Morgan. Now the race was on to stop Mickey's deal. Just then, Mickey received a call, and abruptly left. Danny saw his chance and immediately stepped in to replace Mickey, pulling out the stamp for the deal. The woman looked at him, utterly confused, as if staring at an idiot. "What are you doing? I sell air conditioners." Before he could even process what just happened, Mickey appeared in front of him, smirking triumphantly. That's when Danny realized he'd been completely played. The 6-hour mark hit. Both men returned to the bar for the final reveal, who was the true con artist king this round. Mickey said, "Give it up, you made £5,000, but I conned you out of £3,000, you can't beat that." But Danny smirked. "You really believed that? I actually made £6,000, plus 5p leftover from the taxi ride, so technically, I still win." Mickey calmly pulled out that very 5p coin from his pocket, the one Danny had handed him earlier. Danny protested, "I gave that to you. But by the rules, if you give it, it's theirs." And just like that, Mickey claimed victory by a margin of 5p. While Danny had hustled his way through the streets, Mickey had conned the con, like a shark eating a minnow. Mickey truly remains the god of grifting. But the twist wasn't over. Stacy and Morgan handed £1,000 each to Albert. Turns out, the three had made a side bet. If Albert could get Mickey and Danny to run naked through the streets, he'd win. So Albert rigged the whole challenge just slightly, got his laugh and walked away £2,000 richer. In this game, old hustlers really do hustle harder. We cut to Danny freeloading at a bank. "Do you guys offer valet services for VIP clients?" "Of course, sir." "Great, watch it carefully." The valet followed a rope tied to Danny's hand, and ended up by a river, staring at a luxury yacht parked right outside the bank. Meanwhile, Danny barged into the CFO's office, sat in the main chair, and declared, "Show me your IPO plans." "Who are you?" "I'm UFO, from Chad Mining Corp." Obviously, they'd never heard of such a guy and promptly asked him to leave. Danny snapped. "This how you treat your VIPs? Maybe I should switch to another bank." One of them replied, "We're Ladine Bank, Layden Bank is across the street." Danny feigned realization, apologized, and left. But it worked. The execs were hooked. They followed him to the door and spotted the luxury yacht. "If they're offering you something, we'll do it for half. Let's discuss this over lunch." And just like that, Danny conned himself into a gourmet meal. But this was only the beginning. The real plan: scam Ladine Bank out of £2 million in cash. Later, Danny ran into a strange old man on the street who claimed, "I can bite my own eyeball." Danny bet everything he had that it was impossible. The old man popped out a glass eye and bid down on it. Danny was speechless, a lifetime con man, and still got out-conned by a grandpa. The man handed him a card, names Publisher 3. Danny didn't think much of it, but Albert took one look at the card and froze. The Publisher family was legendary in the 19th century. His grandfather, Publisher I, was known as the Victorian Phantom Thief. Now his grandson is back and clearly has a mission. The crew visited Publisher 3 at the address on the card. He explained, his once glorious family was ruined by Ladine Bank. Now, he's back to avenge his grandfather. But he needs help. If Mickey's team pulls this off, he'll give them £2 million. Deal accepted. Step 1. Infiltrate the bank. Danny posed as the CEO of Chad Mining to hook the bank's execs. They needed someone on the inside. Mickey, pretending to be HR, told a long-haired receptionist that interviews would be held in the lobby. Soon after, Stacy arrived as a fake applicant. The receptionist led her to Mickey. Then the real intern arrived. Mickey said, "Good news, you're both hired, but we're short on desks. One of you gets a paid month off." They flipped a coin, rigged, of course. The real intern went home. Stacy infiltrated the bank. Next day, Danny strutted into the finance office, once again mistaking the bank. The execs quickly realized this was a major opportunity. They signed an IPO deal with Danny and agreed to let Stacy handle the stock issuance. They hesitated, but Stacy suggested bringing in an outside consultant. Enter Morgan, posing as a high-level advisor. He told them Chad Mining was a gold mine. Literally, get in now, or regret it later. The execs were sold. Before the IPO, they bought up shares to pump the price. Once listed, Danny's net worth would double instantly. But they didn't know, they were walking right into one of the greatest scams ever pulled. Back at the bank, driven by greed, the two senior executives gathered all employees and ordered them to dump shares of the Chad Mining Company, creating a panic on the stock market. The plan was to buy the stocks back the next day at a much lower price and pocket the profits. Of course, Danny would take the hit. But Mickey had already predicted this move. Now it was time for Albert and publisher to step in. Posing as naive investors, they walked into the bank with cash and said, "We don't care if it makes money or loses it all. We just enjoy the thrill." The execs happily accepted their investment and poured it all into Chad's stocks, then dumped them hard to drive the price down. But the next day, when they tried to buy back the shares, nothing happened. No matter the offer, Chad Mining's stock wasn't responding. It turned out Mickey's crew had bought up the entire float. Worse, Albert and publisher had signed a contract stating that if the bank couldn't deliver the shares, they'd owe millions in damages. Panic set in. The executives turned to Danny, who held 50% of the company's shares, hoping to buy from him, but he stood firm and refused every offer. With no other option, the bank had to pay up. Just as they were handing over the check, publisher collapsed and died on the spot. Albert leaned in with a solution. "Give us the full $2 million now, and we'll say he died from natural causes." Desperate to avoid prison, the executive signed the illegal check and ran. But when the team checked on publisher, they realized he was actually dead. In his jacket, they found a note. He'd known he was dying and chose to end his life on this day to bring down the Ladine Bank. He'd already called the cops. The crew wiped their prints and fled through the back door. Just as they were about to leave, Mickey felt something was off. He rushed back, only to discover the body and the check were gone. Publisher had faked the whole thing. They rushed to the airport, but it was too late. From the plane, publisher waved goodbye. One con artist outsmarted 5 of the best scammers in the game. A hard, expensive lesson: never underestimate a veteran hustler. Let's see how this couple made over £10,000 in a single day. A woman entered a high-end jewelry store browsing pieces, while her husband looked visibly impatient. He opened his briefcase right in front of the store owner, casually flashing stacks of cash, then rushed his wife out, saying they were short on time. 3 hours later, they returned. The store owner, now fully convinced of their wealth, brought out his most valuable piece for her to try on. Just then, Stacy suddenly felt unwell. Mickey placed their dog on the couch, helped her outside for some air, then turned back to grab the handbag. He told the owner, "We'll be back later." Sensing a potential sale, the store owner said, "Maybe your wife wanted to buy that necklace." Mickey nodded and said he'd bring it outside for her to try, handing over the briefcase in exchange. The owner thought he couldn't possibly run, with the dog and money still inside, but when he opened the briefcase, it was empty, except for 2 walnuts and a note that read, "Return the dog to the nearest pet shop." A full year's profit gone in a blink. The team needed to pull together £100,000 to set up the perfect con, all to help Stacy get revenge. Turns out, 5 years ago, her ex-boyfriend Jake ghosted her and stole every penny she had. Now he had the nerve to show up at a casino, like nothing happened. Mickey, the crew leader, decided Jake needed a taste of his own medicine. Albert approached him first, striking up casual conversation. Danny followed, playing the role of a wealthy playboy, reminding Albert not to forget about the £1 million bet tomorrow night. Jake asked what bet they were talking about. Albert said there was a high-stakes game happening, millions involved, and if Jake was interested, maybe they could team up and clean the house. Jake didn't bite, so Albert handed him a business card in case he changed his mind. With the bait not taken yet, it was Stacy's turn. When Jake came over to greet her, she coldly dismissed him. Mickey wrapped an arm around her, sending a clear message. Jake looked stunned. Mickey added insult to injury. "You're not much of a man." Then walked off with Stacy, leaving Jake seething. After stepping outside, Jake happened to see Mickey and Stacy arguing, likely over what had just happened. Seeing an opportunity, he followed Stacy back to her apartment, fantasizing about rekindling their old flame. As soon as he stepped inside, Jake said, "It was all my fault. Back then, I was drowning in debt. That's why I left without saying anything." His emotional, fake apology seemed to sway Stacy. The next day, desperate to save face, Jake invited Mickey to a $1 million poker game that night. Mickey refused, saying he wasn't interested, but Jake mocked him. "Did Stacy call you last night?" "Probably not, because she was with me." "You'll always be a loser." Angered, Mickey snapped, "Whoever doesn't show up is a coward." Soon after, Albert got a call. Jake was in. The bait had worked. But just before the game began, Stacy met with Jake and warned him, "Don't play tonight, you'll regret it." But Jake, brimming with confidence, replied, "I've been through worse, I can handle this." The game began. As usual, they used a super strong laxative to drive off other players, leaving Jake to face the hustle team alone. Albert called for a short break, and Stacy took the chance to plead with Jake. "They're all working together. If you keep playing, you'll lose everything." But Jake stayed cocky, and with his top-tier poker skills, he wiped the floor with them and walked away the winner. Before leaving, he asked Stacy to go with him. Shockingly, she didn't say no. Mickey had lost both money and his girl, a total defeat. In the taxi with Jake, Stacy opened the cash case, only to discover that except for one bill, the rest was just blank paper. Realizing he'd been tricked, Jake stormed over to Mickey's place. He lunged at him, demanding the real cash. Stacy calmly said, "Let's end this peacefully. Just hand over the real case." Jake taunted Mickey, "I didn't just win your money, I won your woman too." Stunned, Mickey turned and walked away. Stacy quipped, "Oh, so I'm just the bonus prize now." Jake tried to talk his way out, but she wasn't having it. "If you really love me," she said, "then throw the money away." Playing the romantic, Jake tossed the case into the river. But Stacy immediately exposed him. "That was the fake one. You're still a liar. Let's never see each other again." Jake, ashamed, tried offering her some cash, but she rejected it and told him to leave. Jake climbed into a car, opened the briefcase, and was stunned to find it filled with blank paper again. Turns out, when Stacy left the casino, she secretly swapped out the real money and made Jake believe the fake was real. Jake had taken what he thought was the real case to Mickey, fell for Stacy's taunt, and tossed the actual fortune into the river. Meanwhile, Danny had been waiting in the water and retrieved the real money. The Hustle crew didn't just make a fortune, they helped Stacy get her sweet revenge. And with their latest haul, the crew could enjoy life for a little while longer. This is the most secure room in the world, impossible to break into. It's equipped with 360-degree surveillance cameras, laser sensors crisscrossing the interior, and pressure-sensitive flooring. If anyone tries to enter without authorization, they'll be riddled with bullets instantly. Trying to steal anything in that kind of environment, pure fantasy. But when the reward is that big, someone's always willing to risk it. A team of elite con artists has set their sights on this exact room. Turns out, it's where the legendary Star of Africa diamond is being kept, a gem worth billions. Weighing in at 530 carats, it was once set in the Queen's scepter and is famously dubbed the Rolls-Royce of diamonds. In just a few days, it will be displayed publicly for the first time in centuries, making this their one and only chance to act. To ensure everything goes smoothly, Morgan posed as a janitor and infiltrated the museum, secretly photographing the building's entire security and alarm system. After returning, the team devised a flawless plan. The museum's security system seemed impenetrable, but it all depended on electricity. If the power was cut, even if the backup kicked in immediately, the entire system would still take about 30 seconds to reboot. That brief window was all they needed, if someone was already inside to take advantage of it. The next day, Stacy applied for a position at the museum. Thanks to her quick wit and charm, she got the job. When the museum closed that night, the team would begin the heist of the century. Meanwhile, the police received a tip-off. A con crew was planning to steal the African Star diamond. To avoid alerting the thieves, the chief quietly deployed a team to stake out the museum. A cleaning truck rolled past, but the officers didn't suspect a thing. Unbeknownst to them, Mickey and Morgan were inside. The two climbed to the roof, broke the lock, dropped a rope ladder, and entered the building. They navigated the route they had studied thoroughly, bypassing all the guards, and reached the maintenance room, where they cloned the surveillance feed from the vault. Once everything was in place, Mickey signaled Danny to cut the power. All security systems went down temporarily. Stacy, hidden inside a statue, quickly replaced the real camera feed with the looped footage they recorded earlier. But just as she placed the final piece, she tripped. Right as she stood up, the system reactivated, and she was trapped inside the laser grid. Luckily, she was near the outer edge and not in the dead center. Using incredible balance and flexibility, she maneuvered her way out and deactivated the laser grid. She then unlocked the vault, where Mickey and Morgan were already waiting. To avoid setting off the pressure sensors, Morgan marked out the danger zones. Instead of grabbing the diamond directly, they decided to go top-down. Mickey was lowered from above, used a toilet plunger to remove the glass casing, and successfully retrieved the African Star, worth $1 billion. Morgan even took a souvenir photo, which would later come in handy. Just then, the real cleaning truck arrived. The police realized they had been duped. They triggered the alarm and surrounded the museum. By the time they got to the vault, the diamond was gone. The thieves had already climbed to the rooftop and ziplined across to the opposite building. The police were stunned. The crooks had literally flown away. Once safely across, the crew changed into formal attire and exited from a restroom. They even stopped for snacks before heading back to their hotel. But just as they arrived, the police pulled up. Something must have gone wrong. The entire crew was taken in, and their belongings confiscated, yet the diamond wasn't found. During interrogation, each of them told the same story. At the time of the theft, we were attending a formal event at the hotel. Their phones confirmed it, with photos of the party, including one with the police chief himself. In the photo, the chief's watch clearly showed 10:20 a.m., 10 minutes before the diamond was stolen. Turns out, they had pulled off the heist after the event, and Mickey had secretly adjusted the chief's watch before the photo was taken. At that moment, Morgan stepped in and snapped a photo, using the time on the watch to create the perfect alibi, and just like that, Mickey's crew was released without charges. Soon after, the police received a tip. The $1 billion African star had been found in a cleaning lady's bag. The chief was stunned. Why would someone steal a diamond only to return it? Turns out, the diamond was never their real target. They weren't foolish enough to steal royal property. Doing so would bring endless trouble, but the heist was part of a bigger con. Their true goal: scamming 5 corrupt billionaires. A master forger had created 5 flawless replicas of the African star. Thanks to the media frenzy and Morgan's photo, the whole world believed the diamond had been stolen. So, when each billionaire received a copy, they assumed it was the real one. The team warned them, keep it quiet. To save face, the police might claim they recovered the diamond, while secretly continuing the investigation. And just like that, each billionaire paid a fortune for a fake. Mickey wasn't called the king of cons for nothing. He tricked the police, fooled the media, and made the rich pay dearly. It was a chain of perfectly timed moves. Even when the billionaires realized they'd been duped, they couldn't go public, too embarrassing. Now let's see how the crew pulled off another $1 million scam. They sold a priceless antique to a wealthy billionaire. After inspecting it, the buyer handed over $1 million in cash. Stacy counted it, everything checked out. Just as the deal was about to close, Danny suddenly turned rogue. What are you doing? Hand over the case. He snatched both the money and the antique. Had Danny betrayed them? Mickey tried to calm him down, but Danny snapped. I'm done, consider this my retirement fund. The billionaire exploded. What does your retirement have to do with my antique? He threatened to deal with Danny himself if he didn't give it back. But Danny coolly replied, back off, kid, one more step and I'll shoot. Mickey couldn't believe it. It was clear, he meant it. The billionaire backed off, grumbling an apology as he left. As soon as he was gone, Mickey smiled. It was all staged, a con to steal $1 million in cash. The antique, just a prop. The crew returned to base, only to be ambushed by the police. When the chief opened the case, it was full of flour. Everyone was taken in. During interrogation, the chief said, I swapped the cash for flour, cooperate, or I'll make sure you rot in prison. Then he dropped a name, Cuffs, a notorious thief who had evaded capture for years. This time, the police needed Mickey's crew to flush him out. Help us catch Cuffs, and all your charges disappear. Mickey had no choice but to agree. Albert was held as leverage, forcing Mickey to comply. They started digging into Cuffs and discovered he loved extreme sports. Mickey approached him as a fellow skydiver. After a few hangouts, they became friends. Once trust was built, Mickey came clean. We're a high-level crew. We're the ones behind the African star heist. Cuff's eyes lit up. Perfect timing. I've got a job too, an original Anderson manuscript worth $5 million. You in? We split 50-50. Mickey was surprised by how generous Cuffs was, and quietly made up his mind. Back at HQ, he gathered the team to plan a new con, this time, targeting the police chief. On the second night, Cuffs led them to the estate where the Anderson manuscript was kept. Stacy went in first, pretending her car had broken down and calling for security. Meanwhile, Morgan slipped in through the back. As the guard approached, Stacy lured him to a corner, then knocked him out cold. Turns out the saying's true, the prettier the girl, the easier it is to deceive. Morgan entered the control room and wiped the security system. With the signal clear, Mickey and Cuffs parachuted straight into the estate. They quickly found the hidden mechanism, 3 statues that needed to be turned simultaneously. When they did, a glass case slowly rose up, revealing the priceless handwritten manuscript. No time to admire it, they grabbed the manuscript and made a run for it. Before leaving, Mickey called the police chief, tipping him off about Cuffs. The chief rushed to the scene with his superior in tow, only to find the place completely empty. Thinking fast, he headed to Mickey's place, also empty. A cop muttered, wait, wasn't Mickey in custody? The chief stammered, well, not technically, I might have let them out. But when the superior returned to the station, he found Mickey's entire crew still behind bars. The chief fumbled to explain, I just wanted them to lure Cuffs out, and technically, they're locked up for drug possession, I can prove it. He pulled out their evidence. The superior took a small taste. Vanilla extract, this is candy flavoring. I sell sweets, Awkward silence. Maybe it's time you took a long vacation, the superior said flatly. Game over, the chief's career was finished. Mickey's crew, released and free to go. How did you even pull this off? You're a smart guy, you'll figure it out. Then the truth unraveled. Stacy had bought 6 kilos of candy powder, stuffed it inside a teddy bear, and delivered it to the station as lost property. While being monitored, she secretly relayed the plan to Albert. Albert befriended the guard, intentionally lost card games to gain trust. Once close, he got the guard drunk, retrieved the teddy bear, extracted the powder, and swapped it with the real evidence. Then he stole the keys and released the crew. Everyone snuck back into their cells, just in time to play innocent. Perfect, absolutely perfect. Not only had they framed the police chief, they also walked out with 6 kilos of contraband. Now you know why Mickey's crew always seems untouchable. But the story wasn't quite over. True to his word, Cuffs stood outside the station with the Anderson manuscript, ready to make the sale, the buyer, already arranged. Look for the guy with a flower on his lapel, Cuffs told Mickey. Greet him for me if he shows up. No problem, Mickey nodded. Minutes passed, then the buyer arrived. Everyone froze. It was the same billionaire they scammed out of $1 million at the start. Talk about karma. This is the full summary of Hustle Season 1 and 2. Want us to summarize next season? Drop next in the comments below to let us know. If enough of you are interested, we'll keep going. Thanks for following along. See you next time.